Chapter 573 to 578. Grand and Honest. After hearing what Zhang Yi said, the expressions on Uncle Yu and Liang Yu's faces were very strange. Came to persuade them to surrender? There is indeed some truth. After all, no matter how serious the collapse of Tianhai City is, there are still some residual alien forces and armed capabilities. If a fight really breaks out and they are forced into a desperate situation, no one will have a good ending. But Zhang Yi and his team are not weak. No one really thinks that Zhang Yi and his team are weak, right? Even a few months ago, Zhang Yi and his team could win against the full-scale attacks of multiple bases. Not to mention that now, Zhang Yi's strength has undergone a qualitative change. The Ypsilon-class Yuan Kongye was solved by Zhang Yi, who dares to say that they can beat him. I'm afraid that the strongest people in Blizzard City don't dare. Zhang Yi's mouth also had a playful smile. Let's go, and take a look. Zhang Yi and his team went downstairs, and the others in the shelter were waiting for them to come down. With Zhang Yi coming, they also have a backbone. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. What are you all looking at? It's okay. Everyone should go and do your own things. Huahua jumped onto Zhang Yi's shoulder, and Zhang Yi stroked its soft fur. Uncle Yu and Teacher Liang, just follow me. They were just a group of minions, so why should they be so embarrassed? Instead, it would seem that Zhang Yi was afraid of them. Several people left the shelter and walked towards the direction of the people who came. Zhang Yi slowly opened his right hand in front of him. Dimension shield. An invisible and intangible round shield appeared in front of several people, just enough to block all directions around them. Zhang Yi now has 3 defensive uses for the Dimension Gate. The Dimension Gate has the largest defense range and the strongest defense, but it cannot be moved. The Dimension Shield has a small defense range and medium defense, but it can be used flexibly and is suitable for close defense. The Two Realms Absolute has the smallest defense range, but can form an all-round defense without dead angles, and the spherical characteristics distort the Dimension Gate, resulting in the weakest defense. He needs to choose these abilities carefully according to the situation. Several people walked slowly towards the 2 cars on the snow. In the car over there were 10 fully armed soldiers, also watching this place cautiously. Seeing Zhang Yi and his men coming over, a sturdy alien with a beard said leisurely, "They are coming." A companion leaned out of the window, just took a look, and said casually, "Hurry up and give the letter to them, and then we will go back. Don't waste time in this kind of place." A skinny monkey in the back seat patted him on the shoulder and smiled. "It's a rare trip. Don't be so anxious. This place will be our territory in the future." The man curled his lips. "Then I hope they will know better." Several people chatted casually and did not take Zhang Yi and his men seriously, because they all believed that Tianhai City had been defeated long ago, and the remaining strength was completely unable to fight against the 3 major organizations in Linhai City. Zhang Yi and his men walked up to them. "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" Zhang Yi asked in a deep voice. The bearded man in the lead squinted his eyes and looked at Zhang Yi. "Are you Zhang Yi?" Zhang Yi nodded. "Yes." The bearded man smiled and reached out to take out a brown paper file bag from his pocket. "We are from Daze City, and we are the messengers of the 3 major forces there. The leaders of our 3 forces have a letter for you, and I hope you will read it carefully." He handed the file bag to Zhang Yi and reminded him, "By the way, there is also contact information on it. After you figure it out, send an email to this address." Zhang Yi smiled faintly, stretched out his hand, and the email disappeared in his alien space. Seeing this, several aliens in Daze City whistled. "Wow, it's actually a rare space-related ability. Really good." But the mockery and ridicule on their faces clearly showed that they did not take Zhang Yi seriously. The bearded man continued to say to Zhang Yi, "You will have 1 day to make a decision. That is to say, well, there are only 19 hours from now. After all, we have to deduct the time we came here." Zhang Yi did not say a word. The bearded man touched his forehead with 2 fingers. "Well, goodbye. Good luck to you." A group of alien soldiers got on the car with a smile, then started the snowmobile and drove away with a rumble. Uncle Yu looked a little indignant and approached Zhang Yi and said, "Why don't you kill them? These guys are too arrogant." Zhang Yi just said calmly, I have no interest in small fish. And if we act rashly, it will only make the enemy guard against us. Let's see what they say first. Zhang Yi watched the aliens in Daze City leave, and then turned and walked towards the shelter. Uncle Yu took a deep breath, looked at Zhang Yi's back, and showed deep admiration in his eyes. He is only in his 20s, and he can remain so calm and patient when encountering things. It's really rare, Liang Yu said jokingly. As the saying goes, don't. Isn't that right? A barking dog doesn't bite. Zhang Yi's voice suddenly came from the distance. Don't think I can't hear what you say, because I'm far away. Liang Yu was so scared that she quickly covered her mouth. I'm not saying bad things about you behind your back. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and looked back at her who was walking towards him. It's even more excessive to say it to your face. Liang Yu's face flushed slightly. This is obviously a compliment to you, saying that you are steady. I'll just take it as you are complimenting me. Zhang Yi shook his head speechlessly. She's still a teacher, but her way of praising people is so special. I almost forgot that she is a physical education teacher. After Zhang Yi returned to the shelter, he immediately asked Zhou Kuo to go to the infirmary with him. First check the file bag and open it after confirming it is safe. Safety awareness must be there. Even a powerful alien can easily die. Back in the shelter, Zhou Kuo checked it and confirmed that there was no problem with the file bag. Zhang Yi used tweezers to pick up the file bag and then carefully took out the documents inside. There was only a piece of paper inside, which was a handwritten letter to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi put the letter on the table, put on a tactical helmet, and then leaned over to read it. After reading the content of the letter, a meaningful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. What was written inside was very simple. The general idea was that Sun Jiaming, Chen Liangyu, and Gu Hongdai proposed to help them defend Tianhai City. Tianhai City has now experienced a painful war, with a large population loss, and several major local forces are unable to defend. As friendly neighbors, the three major forces in Linhai City are willing to come to assist in the humanitarian spirit. Please do not refuse. Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing, and the laughter became louder and louder. What a high-sounding reason. These people are really interesting. If I'm not mistaken, they also worked in the unit before. Hearing Zhang Yi's laughter, Zhou Kuo and others couldn't help but come over and ask him what happened. Zhang Yi asked everyone to come and see the contents of the letter. I have to say, these guys are really smart. If they use this method, even if the Jiangnan district wants to blame them later, they will have a reason to deal with it. Chapter 575 to 576, Preparing the Bait to Catch Turtlefish. After reading the letter, everyone had very strange expressions on their faces, because they all felt very disgusted. They were clearly coming to seize the territory and resources of Tianhai City, but they came under the banner of humanitarian assistance. Isn't this wanting to be both the boss and the boss? Lu Karen was young and didn't understand this kind of thing. She just felt very angry. Why don't they just rob openly? It would be better for them to just be bandits. Why disgust us? Everyone smiled at each other and shook their heads helplessly. Lu Karen, a young girl who was not very experienced in the world, naturally didn't understand the routine. Zhou Kuo explained to her, there are some things that everyone knows, but we still have to do the surface work. For example, according to them, they are just here to assist in the defense. Then the defense can't be in vain, right? The area needs to be garrisoned by troops, and they need to be provided with the supplies they must have for life. Lu Kuo rolled his eyes. If we don't give it to them, won't they still have to rob them? How are we going to explain it then? Zhou Kuo smiled. Then they will say that we were immoral first, and their people had no choice but to take action. At most, they will apologize after robbing the supplies. If we can't stand it and attack them, they will fight us with justification and say they are acting in self-defense. They think they have taken over Tianhai City steadily, and as long as things are over quickly, they will use the above reasons to explain to the Jiangnan district. When the dust settles, Jiangnan district will be busy dealing with the Ronin incident in Linhai City, so they can only turn a blind eye and recognize their management rights in Tianhai City. After listening to this, Lu Karen's face turned red with anger. Doesn't it mean that they are robbers, but they can still call themselves good people? It's us who are wrong, Zhang Yi said lightly. It was just an excuse. Whoever wins is right. Give Jiangnan District a step so that they don't have to slap Jiangnan District in the face when the Superpower Federation was just established. Jiangnan District can only acquiesce. You don't have to pay attention to these things. They are just very simple language art. The simple understanding is that the three major organizations in Daze City asked Zhang Yi and his team to surrender unconditionally. In that case, they can still keep some living space and supplies for Zhang Yi and his team. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi. Her eyes were as sharp as a knife, and she was also angry at the shamelessness of the alien forces in Daze City. Zhang Yi, fight them. Yes, fight. Teach them a lesson. These shameless guys look down on us. We must teach them a lesson. Everyone was indignant. Zhang Yi nodded. Of course we have to fight, but the question is how to fight. The three major alien forces in Daze City may be as powerful as the previous major Al-Qaeda organizations. If we reject their proposal, they will understand that we must be prepared to fight them to the end. So, why not paralyze them first and pretend to agree to their suggestion? Yang Xinshin smiled and said, Brother, I understand. You want to make them careless and then lure them into our trap. Finally, catch the turtle in the jar, right? Zhang Yi nodded approvingly. Yang Xinshin can always guess what he is thinking. We have to win this victory at the lowest cost. That's what we have to do. Uncle Yu said, Zhang Yi, what should we do? You make the arrangements. Zhang Yi thought for a moment and said, call Xiao Honglian and the others. We are all in the same group now, so we need to let them participate in this matter. The aliens from the three major forces combined are still considerable, and they must be used. As for the battle plan, Zhang Yi actually had a rough outline in his mind. After the conflict with Daze City, he had been thinking about how to destroy these guys. There are at least 3 plans in his mind, but the current situation is what he wants most. The next step is to set up a trap and let these self-righteous guys fall into it. Soon, Xiao Honglian, Xing Tian, and Qin Jingguan all came to Zhang Yi's shelter. This was their first time to enter Zhang Yi's shelter. Seeing this magnificent house and feeling the paradise-like living environment inside, they were extremely envious. Zhang Yi entertained them in the living room, enthusiastically asked them to sit down, and then Zhou Kuer poured them tea. Xiao Honglian seemed to have noticed something and asked anxiously, Zhang Yi, is there any movement of the alien forces in Daze City? After this, Qin Jingguan and Xing Tian also put down their teacups, and their expressions became nervous. Zhang Yi glanced at them and said lightly, you guessed right, it is indeed about them. He briefly explained to them the news sent by the 3 major forces in Daze City. After listening to it, the 3 people's faces were shocked and angry. At present, they do not have the capital to compete with the 3 major forces in Daze City. Qin Jingguan swallowed his saliva and said to Zhang Yi in a pleading tone, Boss, you won't ignore us, right? Xiao Honglian coughed, his face flushed, and said, Boss, you have to help us take the initiative in this matter. I agree, Zhang Yi. He took a deep look at Xiao Honglian. This woman was really honest. She changed her mind very quickly at the critical moment. He took a sip of hot tea slowly and said, I have already thought of an idea for this matter. There is not much you need to do. You just need to cooperate with my actions. Indeed, with the strength of the 3 major Al-Qaeda organizations, the role they played in this operation was only a supporting role. More importantly, it depends on how Zhang Yi does it. The first thing to do is to paralyze the other party. Let them be careless. We pretend to compromise and trick them to Tianhai City first. As for what to do later, I will tell you then. In short, be prepared for now and cooperate with me in acting. Zhang Yi did not reveal too much about the plan to them. The 3 bases had just been taken over, and Zhang Yi could not guarantee their loyalty, so he was still reserved. The 3 heads, now they could no longer be called leaders, listened quietly and said they would resolutely follow Zhang Yi's instructions. However, they still looked a little worried and repeatedly confirmed with Zhang Yi that Zhang Yi would protect them if anything happened. Zhang Yi could understand their feelings, so he made an exception and gave them many verbal promises. In the past, He would have sneered at any verbal promises, but now the three bases were in danger, and they would hold on to any possibility of protecting themselves, like a life-saving straw. Zhang Yi could understand their feelings. Chapter 577 to 578. Intelligence Acquisition. The three forces in Daze City. After sending the letter to Zhang Yi, they were waiting for Zhang Yi's reply. However, it didn't matter if Zhang Yi didn't reply to them. They had already assembled their troops and could set out to occupy the major resource points in Tianhai City at any time. However, they received an email from Zhang Yi shortly afterwards. Since the mailbox left for Zhang Yi was shared by the three forces, they could all see the email sent by Zhang Yi. Dear three major forces in Daze City, today, I received your letter. The words clearly showed that you were plotting to take over the resources of Tianhai City. On behalf of the major forces in Tianhai City, I firmly oppose this approach. We have the ability to protect our homeland and do not need external forces to intervene. I hope you can restrain yourself and not resort to violence. Otherwise, we will report to the Jiangnan Regional Headquarters and let them decide the matter. If you can be good friends and neighbors, we can give out some resources as a friendly gesture. Tianhai City, Zhang Yi. After reading this email, Sun Jianming and others were so happy that their faces were crooked. Ha ha ha. Did Zhang Yi write this email? It's so funny. He's obviously scared to death, but he's trying to save face. Do you really think you can scare us by using the Jiangnan region? The look of being scared and pretending in the email is really hilarious. Sun Jianming's contempt for Zhang Yi became more and more serious. Such a guy, if you scare him again, he will definitely compromise. Chen Lianyu and Gu Hongdai's reactions after seeing the email were similar to Sun Jianming's. Gu Hongdai laughed so hard that she covered her stomach and didn't straighten up for a long time. Haha, this little brother is so cute. I've decided that after we take over Tianhai City, I'll let him be my little brother. He'll tell me jokes. Gu Hongdai smiled coquettishly, but there was a faint light in her eyes. He'd better not be ungrateful. After receiving the email, the three of them immediately started communicating in the group chat. Sun Jianming, have you seen Zhang Yi's reply? Ha ha ha. Gu Hongdai, I am dying of laughter. I am in a rare good mood today. This brother is so cute. Sun Jianming, don't just think about his cuteness. If he doesn't appreciate it, we will take action. Gu Hongdai, I don't think we need to rush. If we can avoid fighting, we should try not to fight. His attitude looks very scary. We can scare him again. There was a hint of deep meaning in Gu Hongdai's eyes, and then she typed. After all, it has been so long since the end of the world. Everyone who is still alive now doesn't want to die. Chen Lianyu just said, I also think we can talk to him again. Besides, is there a possibility that he is acting? Chen Lianyu is an extremely cautious person. He will not conclude that Zhang Yi is weak and incompetent just because of an email. That kind of person cannot dominate Tianhai City. However, they do have limited information about Tianhai City, and they don't know about Zhang Yi's brilliant achievements. Sun Jianming frowned, then sneered. Chen Lianyu, you are too cautious. Whether he is pretending or not, the weakness of Tianhai City is well known. Our army will sweep away everything. Chen Lianyu replied indifferently, it's not that simple. We'd better talk to Zhang Yi again. If it can be resolved peacefully, no one wants to pay the price of bloodshed and sacrifice. Gu Hongdai looked at Chen Lianyu's words and typed briskly. Then talk to him again. Let him hand over the territory and resources obediently, and you can save their lives. People, as long as there is hope to live, they will not seek death. Let's not force people into a corner. Chen Lianyu and Gu Hongdai said so. Sun Jianming had no choice but to say, okay, talk to him again. But we have to let him know that our patience is limited, and we don't have time to argue with him here. The three reached a consensus and decided to communicate with Zhang Yi again. But during this time, Zhang Yi's top hacker Yang Xinxin had already broken through the network firewall of their organization and obtained all their information. Not every force has such a powerful network security system. Tianhai City is one of the cities with the most developed information technology in China. At the beginning, there were still some powerful programmers working in several major bases. But in the neighboring Daze City, Due to the siphon effect of Tianhai City, such people are relatively scarce. Yang Xinxin broke through their network firewall, just like passing through a wall woven by spiderwebs, without any difficulty. She immediately brought the intelligence of the three major forces in Daze City to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was in the living room, sitting cross-legged on the sofa with bare feet, wearing a set of warm yellow pajamas. There was a computer on his knees, and Yang Xinxin was sitting next to him, introducing him to the intelligence she had obtained. According to the current intelligence, the scale of these three forces is not small. Although not as large as the 5 major forces in Tianhai City during its heyday, the gap is not too big. After all, Daze City has a permanent population of more than 8 million and sufficient supplies. They have room to develop their own strength.
Zhang
Yi's fingers slid across the touchpad, carefully flipping through the specific combat power information of the 3 major forces. The most interesting thing is that they not only have their own internal intelligence, but also have separately counted the information of the other 2. This made Zhang Yi gain a lot. After all, no one would clearly record the abilities and weaknesses of their leaders in their own database. Sun Jianming, a user of the strengthening system, his ability codename is Dark Power, which has the effect of breaking armor and penetrating the body. Once in close combat, even those wearing heavy armor will be injured by him. No wonder Chen Jingguan was beaten by him. He ignored his external defense and went straight to his internal organs, completely restraining him. I said that Chen Jingguan was not that useless, but if he was restrained, there would be nothing he could do. Gu Hongdai, a user of the mental system. The ability codename is Scarlet Kiss, which can bewitch the mind and make people completely become their puppets. And it is the kind of love from the heart. Zhang Yi couldn't help but take a breath. This ability is perverted enough. The other party clearly knows that he has been tricked, but because of the love that cannot be extricated, he will still sink. No wonder Zhang Yi remembers that Gu Hongdai has the most subordinates. This kind of powerful control allows her to have a large number of subordinates, which can be regarded as a weakened version of Yuan Kongya. Hey, the weaknesses of her ability are also recorded here. The activation of the Crimson Kiss has a distance limit, which must be within 100 meters, and the closer the distance, the stronger the effect. If you kiss directly, even a Delta-level alien will fall. Good guy, this Gu Hongdai used to be a professional technician. Dear viewers, I appreciate your time. Please take a movement to like and comment on the video so that it will encourage me to post more. Also, please subscribe. Thanks.